Hey, welcome back to my channel. This is Jen, and I like to talk about books. So welcome back. This is going to be a two-in-one video, primarily because I have fallen way behind on the weigh scale and I am soon back to work. So I got to do a bit of catch up, and I have a very busy month ahead of me before I go back to work. So this is actually going to be my March review and my April TBR. I unfortunately did not get to read all the books I had planned to in March because I ended up taking a road trip to the other side of the island of Newfoundland, and for my daughter's class for culture embracement. And then I had to fly across Canada to central Canada for a bit of a family emergency. So I'm back now, but while I was gone, I didn't get a chance to do as much as I had planned to do. My days ended up running into like 14, 16 hours. And I think I got one book review up on the blog, and that was about it. I actually didn't even get to read very much. My brain was too exhausted. I did forget though, before I started this review, I listened to audiobooks while I was on the plane. So maybe I'll do another video about the audiobooks I read, because I have had good and bad experiences with audiobooks. So for the month of March, I had planned to read all of the books for Canada Reads, the competition, the 5 shortlists, which included The Right to Be Cold, Company Town, Nostalgia, 15 Dogs, and The Break. So The Break was actually picked for my book club pick of the month as well, which I had really appreciated, by the twist of coincidence that the girl who was picking that month wanted to read that book for that month. But unfortunately, I didn't get to that book. Even though I was in Winnipeg, I did not read the book about Winnipeg. I did get to finish Nostalgia by M.J. Basanji, and I really enjoyed this book. It's not a very long book, kind of short, and it was actually quite a terrific book. This is about people who can extend their life, and how you would erase memories to start a new life, so that you're not overwhelmed by years upon years upon years. I mean, we're talking beyond our normal lifetime, years worth of memories. But some people were using this process to just start new lives. I don't like this life, I'm going to go start a new life. So they ranged anywhere from young people to very old people. And this had talked about a syndrome called nostalgia, where the old memories that were erased and taken away start leaking back into your current life, and how that would affect your life and your personality. And so it tackled with things like, there was a little bit of talking about how the world has broken down because of our ability to live longer lives, and it talked about how we are now separating ourselves into groups. The people who were living their first lives, people who were living their continued lives, and how we could just change ourselves at a whim if we had the money to go and get new memories. It was quite a fascinating book, and it really did make you think about what it would mean to live a longer life. I have always said I would never choose immortality, and this book kind of just reinforced that for me. I don't think I would want to ever have to deal with immortality or memories or losing memories or forgetting things from my past. So I recommend that book. The second book I read was Company Town, and that one, I believe it was written by Madeline Ashby. I don't have the copy of the book here with me, so I will post a picture up here. And I actually left it up the lane where my husband is, at my mother-in-law's house. This one was about, it was set in Newfoundland, and off the coast of Newfoundland, where they have oil rigs. And now these oil rigs have now been turned into towns, and they are usually run by different families, and they've turned into their own communities. So this one was kind of a science fiction well, not kind of, it was a science fiction novel. It's set in the future. And the people in the future have like I don't know what the word is that they used. And oh, my brain is just so non-functioning. But it's where you can get these upgrades to your body. So you would have implants in your eyes, or you would have the ability to not get sick, or to heal without healing type thing. You pretty much have the ability, because you are now part computer, to be hacked. And this story revolves around a boy who needs a bodyguard, and they pick this girl named Hua, who has no implants or upgrades to protect him because she can't be hacked by enemies or anything like that. This book was an enjoyable read, but it certainly... So Company Town was a bit more, well, it was science fiction. Like, it was really good. I really enjoyed it. Now, would it be something I would have picked for Canada Reads? Not really. It was just a really enjoyable science fiction book, but it didn't push far enough the boundaries of what I would have expected a book shortlisted for Canada Reads. And the third book I got to was 15 Dogs by Andre Alexis. And again, I don't have a copy of this book, so picture right here. This book is about 15 dogs, and they are given human consciousness by the gods Hermes and Apollo. They made a bet that if you give dogs human consciousness, they won't ever be happy, and that they would, the one believed that they would never die happy, that our morals and our conscience and all that surrounds it causes us to be miserable. So these 15 dogs are in a vet clinic. I had initially thought they were in a shelter, but they're in a vet clinic, and they are given the consciousness of humans, but while retaining their dog-like qualities and memories and aspects. And so they actually figure out how to escape the vet clinic and go out into the world. And so the story is about the 15 dogs and how they interact. I really enjoyed this story. It presented a lot of questions about our humanity and how we treat each other, and what pack mentality will do, what individuality will cause you to do. It grappled with a lot of really interesting subjects. There are some parts that it wasn't a perfect book for me. There are some parts that I wish had been a bit different, or had been expanded upon, or there was just some things, like I said, that I just didn't particularly love. But out of all the books I read, that one was my favorite, and it was the actual winner of Canada Reads. So if you didn't get a chance to actually listen to the broadcast and the arguments that were presented in the debate, check out CBC, I believe it's CBC Radio 1. They might have it on their website. I didn't get a chance to listen, as I was once again in Winnipeg and not near a radio or anything that I could access, so I just kept up to date through Twitter. And I do know that The Break was the first book kicked off, so I'm interested to find out now. I am going to still try and read that book. I started The Right to Be Cold, and that was a did not finish for me. I don't know if I was just in the wrong mentality, or if I just was not interested in the story. It was difficult for me to get through. So I probably only made it the first 70 pages maybe. And it was an interesting story to begin with. I think it had potential, but again, I might have been in just a bad mind frame due to all the circumstances surrounding when I picked up the book. The other book I read was Nutshell by Ian McEwan, and this was a story about a fetus, telling the story actually. It's seen from his point of view, and his mother's plotting the death of his father with who it turns out to be, it was her lover, and the fetus ends up finding out is also his uncle. So this is a retelling of Hamlet, through the eyes of Hamlet as a fetus. And I have to say, it got mixed reviews because people just didn't know how to handle scene review in the aspect of a fetus. But I have to say, I thoroughly enjoyed that. It was so fascinating and so strange to read from the point of view of a child that's still in womb. And it brought up things that you don't really think about, and like sex from the point of view of a child in a womb. And I was disturbed, but it was done in such a way that it was just so fascinating. I gave that one, I think, a 4.5 out of 5. It was a little short, but it was really enjoyable. I wish it was a little bit longer because it does end, not abruptly, but it ends a little sooner than I think I would have liked to have seen it, and in the tradition of Hamlet. But I quite enjoyed it. And the audiobooks I listened to, I have to think about this one because one of them I fell asleep in. Lincoln on the Bardo, actually by George Saunders, was the first one, and what an amazing cast. This one was narrated by Nick Offerman and included quite a variety of cast members. Unfortunately, I was flying a long flight and I kind of dozed off in some of the parts, but the story itself and the narration was wonderful. I thoroughly enjoyed the narration, and I wish I hadn't dozed off, but I had some long layovers that I got so comfortable I just conked right out. And the last audiobook that I recall at the moment listening to was And Then There Were None by Agatha Christie. This was narrated by Dan Stevens. I had the day before watched Beauty and the Beast in the theater, which of course included Dan Stevens, and I am totally in love with it, but that's for another story. He is a fantastic narrator, and he does so much justice to the story of And Then There Were None. I believe he also narrates Murder on the Orient Express, so I am going to check that out. I was going to read that in my ebook copy, but I think I am going to listen to the narration just because I absolutely adore Dan Stevens. And I think that was all I managed to get through for the month of March. I don't recall reading any other books or completing any other books for the month. Just like I said, I was all over the place and traveling too much, and I thought I could read more than I actually was able to. So that is the extent. I don't think I'm going to do follow-up reviews on any of the specific books unless something changes. They were pretty much good books, but nothing that really blew me away. And the TBR for April, I'm not setting an actual TBR for April, just because I have a lot of appointments set this month, so I'm going to be back and forth a lot, and I don't want to commit to anything in particular. Other than April is National Poetry Month, so I'm trying to get through some poetry books. So I'm going to try out some poetry. As I've said in a previous video, I'm horrible with poetry. I frequently don't understand it. And so I may pick up some other poetry books for the month, but we're going to see about that just because I really don't know where I'm going to go with poetry. I'm currently reading In Cold Blood by Truman Capote. Capote? And hopefully I'll have that one finished. And outside of that, I think I got a historical romance somewhere. Possibly. I'm not sure. And outside of that, I have nothing particularly set. Now, I know I'm a little late, and I know I would be starting right probably in the middle, but it is tome topple currently, I think till the 20th. So I may attempt to read some tomes, as I have a ton of them on my shelves that I have not read or picked up, mostly YA. And I've fallen behind. I have them all sitting on my shelf, and I've just picked up too much literary fiction that haven't really gotten to any of the YA books that I have on my shelf. So maybe I might pick up a couple. I'm not entirely sure. Possibly Game of Thrones, but I think I'm going to leave that to May. Outside of that, I don't have any other plans for reading for this month. like I said, I have a lot of traveling to do and appointments to keep and preparing for getting back to work. So I don't want to say I'm going to read X amount of books and not really get to them. I do have a couple books that I am reading for advanced review, and so I'm going to try and work my way through those, and hopefully I will have a better reviewing schedule for the upcoming weeks now that I'm home. And so until the next video, happy reading!